Hey everyone, welcome to Wellness Wednesday Lunch Bunch. I'm Denise O'Malley, founder of You Define Wellness, and welcome to our first episode. You Define Wellness decided to put these together to bring together a variety of health and wellness professionals from our network to talk about current events, things that are going on. We're bringing in modalities that are not what you would expect because we all have different life experiences. And I welcome you to put your comments in this in the Facebook Live section, and we will try to answer them as we go along. But I want to introduce to you right now my co-host for this episode, Dr. Natalie Forrest with Natalie Forrest International. Thank you, Natalie, for joining me today. I am so glad to have you as my co-host.
I know, it's always fun to be with you. I can't wait to see what happens today.
We can't wait to see what happens today too, because it's going to be an interesting conversation. Joining us today are panelists, as I said, from the You Define Wellness Network. And I have with me Dr. Nicole Grams with Offbeat Health in Madison, Wisconsin. I have Dagmar Oktabcova with the Spiritual Healer in Lakewood, Colorado, I believe. And I have Jennilynne Coley, who is the owner of the Destress Lounge in Aurora, Colorado. Ladies, thank you very much for joining us today. So what we're going to start off with, we have a theme. And this is what prompted us to put this together so quickly, is that it really is on my heart that there's a lot of negativity going on in our world right now. And there's a lot of stress that's coming about. We have the elections coming up in 6 days, and it seems like everything has manifested with those emotions. And so we wanted to bring out that subject of negativity and stress, talk about it a little bit, give you guys some tips and tricks to help get through it. And Natalie, what was your thought when you and I first started talking about this?
Well, I think we started at it when we were actually doing the wellness break, right? And it's so important that the negativity impacts our well-being spiritually, mentally, and in any other way. So if there's too much negativity and we take that in, where is it going to go? And having these experts here with us, I think, is going to give us some really good insights into what can we do, in addition to, you know, what you always do, what I always do, like being outside when I can. So there's so much we can do when negativity takes over. Most of us just need a little bit of help and advice on what to do.
Absolutely. Nicole's nodding her head here, so she's in agreement with everything you're saying. Nicole, what's on your heart right now?
I'm just thinking about the physical toll that stress takes on the body, because as a pharmacist and as a functional medicine practitioner, that's where my mind goes, and that's where I want to step in and help people de-stress, because it literally builds up in the body and manifests in physical symptoms, and your genes can kind of help guide that direction. But like with everything that's going on, everything right now, especially with the election stress, is just
that's a great word. I like it.
That was a scientific term, I think.
Yes.
Jennilynne, you own a business. You've named it the Destress Lounge. How is this resonating with you?
I mean, I agree with everything that's been said already. Stress really can take a toll on you mentally, physically, emotionally, and it can affect every aspect of your life, including just trying to be productive on a daily basis. One thing I often talk about when I equate to the way that stress kind of affects the body is I say, okay, go ahead. I'm gonna ask you ladies to do this with me too. Take your hands and go ahead and ball it up and clench it. That's essentially the way your body contracts when you are surrounded by stress and negativity and you start to take all that on, right? And so as you're trying to create things in your life and you're asking for things and you're working on goals and they're trying to get into your body and into your life, they can't because you're so clenched and closed off, and you might miss an opportunity, you might miss something that could help your body or help you to be more creative, to help you to even be more present and be more mindful. And so a couple of easy things you can do to kind of let go of that clenched fist, that contraction in your body, is one, just to like close your eyes and take a deep breath. I mean, even just that simple thing alone, whether you're in traffic or in your office or with your kids or wherever you are, just taking a deep breath will help to relax your body. so that you can be more present, relax, release a little bit, and then maybe be able to create from a clearer mind, a clearer space, and a little bit more ease in your body.
Absolutely. Dagmar, what do you do when you're feeling this negativity and stress?
Actually, I was gonna say something a little different from a different angle,
Okay.
and then answer perhaps your question. But I kind of look at things in terms of where does stress and all that negativity come from? Why are we so stressed over politics, right? Over what's happening today?
Right.
Why are we so incredibly stressed over that? And my experience has been, from a spiritual healer standpoint, is that we're actually getting triggered into our past unresolved pain, which sometimes deals with our survival, you know, with our ability to create income, or, you know, our freedoms, or being suppressed and not being able to do what we need to do to take care of ourselves. Things like that are being triggered, and not just from this life, I'm talking other lifetimes, when we have experienced, for example, there's a lot of talk about even Nazism and, you know, things like that, or racism. And how many of us have lived, for example, in the Nazi lifetime, right? Or how many of us have lived in the times when, you know, there were Black slaves? Perhaps some of us were Black slaves, you know. And so, you know, some of that stuff still sticks out with us on our soul, hangs out. And we are being triggered by all that stuff right now. And particularly in these times right now, what's happening, I don't know how many of you guys have heard or not heard of the ascension process. We are trying to rise in higher vibrations, into higher dimensions, and being triggered into our old pain is really part of it. And there is a reason for it. And the reason being is that we finally properly integrate that pain so that we can grow as a soul, and we can offload, so to speak, those sacks of potatoes we keep carrying around with us. And that's what is accompanied by this negativity and stress that's going on right now. And, you know, right now in these particular times, you are being so much more supported than any other time to heal this kind of stuff from your past, because the veil is so incredibly thin. I mean, I always am so amazed at how easy it is for people to see their past lifetimes when they do a session with me. You know, they just slip right into it and see it. You know, some believe it, some don't, but they still see it. And so it's an incredible journey if you participate in it and actually take charge of what's happening with you as far as all that stress, and understand the meaning of why it's happening right now. And you can do something about it, like, for example, engage in some spiritual work and some deeper soul work to help you actually get better and not get triggered, because you can permanently release those triggers so that you're not triggered by that stuff anymore. I can watch politics all day and won't get triggered by it anymore. I've been doing healings on myself for the last 13 years. You know, I can stay completely neutral about the whole thing. So, you know, that's
I think,
what,
yeah, Dagmar, can I briefly say
Yeah,
something?
sure,
Because I think
please.
what you're bringing up is so important. And I heard Nicole and Jennilynne sort of say a similar thing, which seems to be, you need to know yourself, right?
Yes,
However you get there. So in order to breathe, you need to know yourself. In order to figure out, you know, why does my arm hurt? I haven't laid on it. You need to figure out how you know yourself. So the negativity, what I heard everybody say was really, it comes from within, it's triggered, and you need to know yourself in order to then figure out the best way of dealing with it, right? I mean, when it comes to some people that I work with, you know, it's like they need to go out and run. Others need to go and shoot at targets, you know, and others meditate. So I don't know, Nicole, what are your experiences in that?
As far as,
like, how do you help people? How do you think people need to know themselves? What can they do?
Gotcha. Well, I definitely think that we have learned to become detached from our bodies, and that's part of a major problem across the board. Any sort of healing modality, that's part of the problem. And for me, it's sort of tuning into your body, listening to what it's telling you, because as a kid, if you're taught, you know, don't cry, don't, you know, feel this way, you should look to me, the adult, for how you should respond to everything around you. You stop trusting yourself. and you stop listening to the signals, the anxiety signals that your body's giving you, and you kind of suppress them, and you sort of force any negative emotions out because those are not acceptable. We need to be happy, we need to be smiling, we need to fake it if we're not feeling good. And like that disconnection from the negative, like negative, neutral and negative are at least half of your life, always, period. So if you're fighting half of your life, you can't get into that higher level of connection with yourself.
It's interesting you said disconnection from your body, but I find that a lot of people are disconnected from their spirit.
Both.
So yeah, so you basically, they don't have that, they don't trust themselves, the messaging they receive. You talk about it from the body standpoint, I'm talking about it from a spiritual standpoint. And it is truth that in fact, when you are experiencing trauma, as you go through life, you know, or pain, you eventually disconnect from yourself. Okay, but you can actually remedy that through what I call spiritual healing, through actually work with yourself. And I've had that happen to me. I've been through that experience. And it's quite amazing because one of the profound things I have found for myself that changed hugely for me when I reconnected with my spiritual self is that I never felt lonely again. That was like a huge thing. Okay. And so there is a lot of that, you know, a lot of people are so disconnected from themselves these days, you know, and I even see that.
Cool.
Yeah, I see that even in my practice.
Yeah, sorry, I keep interrupting you, but you say so many cool things. You say so many cool things. It's like, and again, I heard both of you say the same thing, right? The disconnection. And when you're disconnected, so how do you do that? And the other thing that I just heard you say, Dagmar, was really about you know, going within and then no longer sort of needing the outside. If I heard that, I mean, that's how I phrase it, right? You don't need appreciation from outside. You don't need help because
exactly. Yes.
That's sort of where you're going.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Exactly. That's very true.
Awesome. Yeah.
You can fill any hole that you have within yourself that a lot of us seek externally, whether it's money or appreciation or loneliness, we can fill ourselves within. And the trouble with that going out externally to seek it, right, is that that's where the dysfunction comes in our relationships, actually, because we're expecting other people to fill us where we need to fill ourselves. So that's an interesting point you brought up.
We have an interesting question on the Facebook Live, and that is, Kim wants to know, how do you reconnect with yourself? Jennilynne, how would you answer that?
Well, kind of even piggybacking a little bit back on what Dr. Nicole was saying earlier, our bodies can give us so much information about what is going on. So really starting to almost create a dialogue with your body like you would talk to another person, which I know kind of sounds weird for some people, but really beginning to like listen to your body and create that dialogue is one way, because your body is going to tell you, you may feel chills, you may feel that kind of gut feeling that's like, don't go there. Starting to listen to some of those things and acknowledge yourself and acknowledge your body as you're getting that information can start to help to increase that dialogue and increase that trust that you have as you're building that relationship with yourself and learning to, again, trust what you know, because we're already born with that. And as we start to receive all of these messages as we're going along through life, we kind of get away from that. And that's a lot of what people are experiencing right now, right? A lot with the media, with what's going on with the pandemic and with unemployment and with the election. There's a lot of polarization going on. What's good, what's bad, who's right, who's wrong. I'm going to be attached and aligned to this party, or I'm going to be against that one. And so when we get distracted by all of those polarizing messages outside of us, rather than kind of trusting, really simply kind of going back to what I was saying before, when something is really true for you, usually your body feels very light. There's a lot of ease in your body. There's a lot of space. When something's not true for you, you kind of get contracted. It feels heavy. So just something that simple, starting to trust how you're feeling and how you're sensing that can help you start to go along that path of beginning to like get reconnected with yourself.
So we've talked about spiritual, listening to the spiritual side. We've talked about listening to your body. Nicole, let's talk about some health things that people can be doing right now when they're feeling these things going on.
Make sure you're getting enough sleep.
I second that one.
Yeah, sleep.
No, not happening.
Kind of, yeah, it's hard, especially if there's anxiety involved, because it keeps you up, it keeps your cortisol revved up. It does so many, it like starts this whole cascade of hormonal fluctuations in your body. So getting enough sleep, making sure that you are eating foods that are giving your body the nutrients that it needs, because that's another thing that causes inflammation, that sends signals up to your brain to stay in this anxious state. If you're eating a bunch of ultra processed food, a bunch of junk food, a bunch of fast food, a bunch of carbohydrates and nothing else.
You mean the stuff we turn to when we're stressed out?
Right, exactly. I mean, and that's okay, because what it does in your body is it gives you this little dopamine rush at first. And that's okay if you stop there, but it's just when we start to crave it because our microbiome shifts, you know, so being conscious of what you're eating, what you're putting into your body is one way to kind of calm the anxiety in your body, calm your nervous system. It's not trying to attack the food that you're putting in there if you're eating a well-balanced, nutrition-based plant, well, not just plant-based, but like whole food based, you know, diet.
Now, the other thing you can do too that I just thought of, which is really key, is you can actually disconnect from your triggers. So in other words, if you recognize what is triggering you, so for example, if it's you know, if you're getting triggered by watching Trump speak, then don't watch Trump speak. You know, disconnect from that. You know, or whatever negativity that's out there that you know is going to trigger you into feeling stressed. Don't go there, you know, or just disconnect from that. And that way you create a sort of sense of peaceful arena for yourself. You know, ultimately the most ideal thing is to actually heal where the trigger is, so you don't have to get triggered anymore. But in the meantime, you can disconnect from your triggers. So that's a very viable possibility.
Thank you for saying that. You know, I have to tell you something, guys. I'll share something with you guys. My husband came home from work last night and he said, I've made a decision. I've already voted. It's done. I need to not have the news on at night. I need to not be discussing what the polls are. I don't need to hear what happened at a rally. So please, for the next 6 days, let's not talk about it. Hey, I'm happy with that. And he completely disconnected from it. So it was that self-care. So Dagmar, thank you very much for bringing up that point.
Sure. And I wanted to also, I'm sorry, I wanted to also quickly answer your question from the viewer on live about how do you connect with yourself spiritually. For me, it happened as a part of my spiritual awakening. And part of that was really reconnecting with the spiritual realm and doing internal work that actually ultimately caused me to reconnect with myself. And so actually I am working on some programs right now to accelerate your spiritual awakening and transformation. So if you want to keep in touch with me, if you're interested in that at some point later, I'll be coming out with them soon.
Absolutely.
But it's all about, you know, reconnecting with yourself, doing the transformation, and being able to rise in vibration, all that good jazz. So
absolutely, absolutely. And we'll have all of your information tagged in all of this. So Natalie, I have a question that's been on my mind for a long time. You are based in the Baltimore, Maryland area.
Oh no.
So you're like a stone's throw away from the center of everything that's causing a lot of this negativity and stress. Let's face it, guys, it's not just the elections, right? We've been dealing with COVID for 8 months now. There's a million other things going on. So I'm going to assume that it's kind of intensified where you're living, Natalie. How do you deal with it?
Well, let me say it could be.
Okay.
Allow it. So, I mean, I used to live in DC. I used to live in Southeast DC, if you're talking about amplifying where you're living. And so I don't let it do that anymore. And, you know, Nicole said it, I think Jennilynne hinted at it as well earlier, and Dagmar said it. I made a decision not to watch a whole lot of stuff. The TV, video games, they take you in and present their point of view. I'm a historian, so I have to watch some of this, and I don't want to talk about stuff that I'm not informed about. However, don't come too close. So we watch maybe 1 hour. I watch maybe 1 hour of news per day. And I read all of the different newspapers. But other than that, I don't let it get to me. It's very weird because I've lived everywhere in this area, Virginia, DC, and Maryland. Okay. This triangular area is so weird because there's a lot of competition. Everybody talks politics, but then they go out to dinner together. I mean, that's more like my European way. So even though it's amplified, it seems to be amplified in front of the TV. And therefore, I don't take it as real half the time, and it's cut off. Now, honestly speaking, my husband, from the moment he comes home, he's got the TV on, and my daughter and I would close the door on him. It's just like, no, we're not doing this, especially with some of the images about riots and stuff. My child doesn't need to be seeing that. She's not unaware, she knows what's going on, but that's what, you know, Jennilynne and Nicole were also talking about. It affects us physically. And so when it comes to reconnecting with oneself, turn it off, like Dagmar said, but also everybody mentioned it, self-care, right? I mean, I try to go outside when I can. I try to turn everything off and have my coffee. Now, some people will tell you don't drink coffee, but you know, who cares?
Oh, no.
That's my
I
vice.
have to drink it. I have to.
The other thing, I know. The other thing is the music. I think the music that we listen to is really, really important. I don't know how you all feel about it. I mean, we know there's energy in music, but what about music? What do you listen to? Like the simple things. Food you can't always control, right? I mean, it depends on how much money you have, what you can buy, or if you can even go outside right now. So what do you do when it comes to your atmosphere, to your ambience, when you're triggered and when you're stressed? Nicole, Jennilynne, Dagmar?
So I sort of wanted to add on talking about the media and how that sort of affects, and literally shutting it off can help you, even though you're not being less informed. The media's job is literally to get your attention. And they will use headlines, they will use statements, they will use polarizing information, images to get your attention. That's literally what they're being paid for, is to get you to watch them.
Not just that, but I just want to say about the media is they've been very much into keeping you in fear.
Yes.
Negativity and
how they keep
fear.
you hooked.
And so it's constant negative news, CNN, you know. So you got to pick and choose what you watch. Absolutely.
Yeah.
My big thing is really, you know, I would really say that what calms the system down is nature. Go out in nature.
Oh, Nicole,
You know?
oh my gosh, she was just sharing something that she's been doing with me. We were on a call just a little while ago this morning. Nicole, you do these wellness walks.
Yep.
Tell us about them.
So I have decided that every week I want to show up for my audience and my people and talk about a topic that comes up. Like this morning, I haven't uploaded the video yet, but it's about perfectionism. And I've talked about functional medicine in general and healing the gut. And, you know, like there's so many different things, like as a functional medicine practitioner, health coach, life coach combination, like I'm just talking about whatever I feel like that morning. Essentially, half the time I don't have anything prepped before I step outside, but the intention is to inspire people to go outside, go for a walk, come with me, keep me held accountable for going for a walk at least once a week. And just get out there and look at the trees. And this morning I noticed like a whole bunch more birds than I have ever seen flitting between the trees. And I found an old paper wasp's nest that was gorgeous. And it's just, I forget to bring those into the video, but it's getting out there and being present in nature, observing what's out there, and just being in awe about the small things that are already surrounding you that are free.
I was actually recently watching something also about actually increasing the your killer cells, which is your immune system, right? That kills off bacteria, viruses, all that stuff. And they said that there's been statistics or research done that a 2-hour walk in the woods will totally cause your killer cells to go through the roof and start increasing your immune system.
So
Yeah.
we're changing everything about the heaviness that's on us through our mindset and doing things. I know for me, I started something a year and a half ago when I was dealing with an obstacle or remodeling our house and something wasn't going right. And I always turned it into a life lesson to try to find how I could apply it. And that helped me change my attitude about the situation at the moment, the stress and the negativity of that particular situation. So Jennilynne, I know you are one of the most upbeat, positive people that I know. So how do you keep yourself in that mindset?
I use questions a lot. I think that, especially with the ways that our brains are programmed and wired for survival, you know, fight or flight, there's a tendency when something's not going our way or it doesn't look exactly the way we want it to, you know, make a snap judgment about it, or even make ourselves wrong for being upset. And being upset's okay. It's not necessarily wrong. But there's also always an opportunity and always another possibility available. So I do my best, even when I feel like I'm being silly and maybe even having an adult temper tantrum, because it happens sometimes, right?
Yay!
Permission, right? Like maybe, you know, by myself, not necessarily out in public. That might not create very much, but
maybe it's a good stress reliever though, you know, if you're at home or in the car, you roll up the windows and scream your head off.
Yeah.
Well, it could be, right? But like give yourself permission to feel whatever I'm feeling in the moment and then ask a question like, okay, what's actually true here?
Oh, I like that question.
Actually true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's the next thing I could actually choose or create from here?
That's awesome.
What else is possible?
Nicole, were you going like this, trying to get saying, yeah, I have something?
Not specifically, but I did want to see if you guys are familiar with the work of Byron Katie.
Vaguely.
The first question is this true? And there's 4 questions and a turnaround that basically changed my life and started leading me down this path of calm. And it's really questioning your own thoughts about the situation. So is what you think, is that actually true?
Yeah.
And the truth is you can never know that it's true.
So is it the one where is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Okay, so that's the one that I knew from years ago, which is the acronym of THINK. But it sounds like it came from the writings of Byron.
Yeah, so she calls it the work. And
Okay.
let me just see if I can pull that up here quick. It should be easy.
For that, I actually have a different connection with whether you can actually know if it's true. And it goes back to what I was talking about earlier with that dialogue and that communion with your body. You can actually always know what's true because you'll know in your body if it's light and expansive or if it's heavy and contracting. It may not be a cognitive, I see facts, I can prove it's true, but on an energetic level, we always know. So a little bit of a different perspective.
Yeah, we might differ a little bit from the semantics of that for sure. But like even it's really more for me deciding whether it's true in whether it serves you or not. So that light expansiveness, I still don't know that it's true. I still don't know that people like me at all. But that's a thought that I choose to believe because it serves me.
We like you.
There's a little like it can get a little fuzzy in there, but you know, like just sort of recognizing that you should question everything. You should question everything you think and come to your own conclusions.
Well, perhaps you might want, I have a hard time with is it true? Because truth can be very subjective.
Yep.
But what I do recognize from my practice is, you know, where is whatever thought coming from? Is it coming from your ego and your pain? Or is it coming from your higher self? See, because from your higher self, it's usually something that's in your highest good, right? Whereas from your pain and ego, it's something fear-based, anxiety-based, that comes from some past pain that doesn't serve you, trying to recreate that, right? So, understanding where is it coming from? And usually, from, the easiest way to tell is that thought, a fear-based thought, because fear always comes from pain, or anxiety-based or stress-based, because your higher self doesn't have fear or stress or anything like that. It's just a knowing, right? So yeah, that's the biggest thing for me as far as where is it coming from, this thought, right?
I think that's a crucial question. And you use a lot of, energy, spiritual terminology, which some of us can relate to and others not, because for some people, it's really hard to understand, well, which one is the ego? And it's sort of easy for us to say, well, the ego does this and this and this, right? So if we take it a notch down, on the one hand, it's fear. It's also, I think, if I may go there, if it's something that you're not sure about, because in the end, it all goes back to your intuition, right? So I would call it maybe intuition for some people who are not that involved in spirituality at this point in time, and say, if it feels weird, it's just like, driving down the road. Do you go left or right? It's your intuition, and it connects with the body. If you think, well, something's wrong with my arm, there probably is something. Now, the question is it physical or spiritual, right? And the questioning, what I have found is that it's so much easier for us to help others and ask them questions. But when we ask ourselves questions, it's sometimes still that agenda comes in. I call it agenda, ego, because we do need the ego at times. But like, I love the questions, whether they come from, Katie or others. One of my favorite questions always is to say, how's that working for you? Just a simple question. How's that working? Like, you're kicking and screaming, you're sick, you're tired. How's that working for you? But, I think if I may, I would love to go back to some simple tips on what to do. For people who are employed, for people who right now may be under lockdown, what are some simple tips in their house that they might be able to do right now? Jennilynne, you were talking about breathing, right? So the breathing, what else would you recommend somebody do?
Well, I love what you were just saying, Natalie, because it really just takes it back down to being pragmatic. Is what I'm choosing, is what I'm doing working, or is it not? If it's not, okay, what else can I choose? So I love the pragmatic piece of that. Over and above that, I think one of the major things people can do is put the hammer down.
Yeah.
It tends to be so hard on ourselves and even on others. And so if we put the hammer down and kind of let ourselves off the hook and stop playing the judgment polarization game and give ourselves permission to just be, that's one thing. Another thing is acknowledgement, big or small. I got up out of bed today. I brushed my teeth. I hit that goal, whatever it is. Acknowledge and be grateful for whatever is showing up in your life. Maybe even start like making a gratitude list at night. That's another thing that kind of change your energy and just
I think that's huge, gratitude, yes.
And the last thing I'll say is kind of going back to something we were talking about earlier, get moving. That moving, whether it's out in nature or it's inside your home, and whatever form of movement you choose to do, there's something about movement that changes your energy and changes your state and kind of lets that negative energy go. So those would be three pragmatic things I would say people can do.
I want to jump in with a thing that I do, and I started many years ago, and I created a God box. That's just what I happen to call it. You could call it whatever you want. And I went to a thrift store and I found a wooden box, brought it home. My husband super glued it shut, nailed it shut, cut a little hole at the top of it. And when I have something that's weighing on me that I just know is bigger than me, that I need to get rid of it, I write it on a slip of paper, I put it in the God box, and when it's full, I'm going to have a ceremony, I'm going to burn it. And it's sealed, so we never revisit it again. And I'll tell you, I've had it for about 7 years and it's still not full, because I've learned it helped me dissipate the negativity and stress that was going on.
I like that.
That's awesome.
I loved it too. It was, if somebody shared it with me, and I hijacked it and took it and ran with it.
Well, I think that's true because Jennilynne also mentioned gratitude, right? So one of the things that I always recommend is gratitude journal or journaling before you go to bed. And the reason why I'm going to the situation of going to bed, Dr. Nicole had mentioned, sleep. Well, if your brain's filled with negativity, it's kind of hard to sleep. So writing a little journal, and then I'm with you, Denise. Don't ever read it. Don't read it because then you're opening it back up. Tear it up, throw it out the window. Really, really crucial. Yeah. Great tips, Jennilynne. Yeah. Dr. Nicole, what are your tips?
I'm a big fan of solo dance parties.
Oh, yay! Where nobody can see you.
Nice.
No, but also building off of the journaling thing, especially before bedtime, is doing a brain dump of just write. And don't look back at what you wrote. Don't edit it. Just whatever thought comes up, just go with it. And you can look back at it if there's idea, because it's not always a negative thing. It's sometimes I have so many ideas that I'm so excited to get all this stuff done, and you just need to get it out on paper, and then your brain can kind of calm down. It shifts your whole everything. So that's something that I have found to be very helpful.
Well, in regards to that, I was going to say that what I used to do in my early days before I got involved in healing is I would really enjoy talking to a friend, because it's a way to just kind of also be able to express what it is you're feeling. It's kind of like the brain dump, and once you talk enough about it and you're done with it, then you're done with it. You know what I mean? But it actually helps. It actually helps you process it, So talking to a friend sometimes helps.
Absolutely. And I love your idea about the solo dance parties, Dr. Nicole. I actually do that in the car when I'm driving. I think people think I'm crazy sometimes. My lungs, but it's fun, and it's happy time for me.
Yeah,
We need more of those.
The idea there is to not judge yourself while you do it. You just move your body. Nobody cares. Just move.
And sometimes I'll notice people look over and they'll start dancing too, or they'll make a salute kind of sign or whatever. So, a way of having a positive ripple effect out in the world too.
I'm a big fan of telling people to blow bubbles. Seriously, you cannot be unhappy if you're blowing bubbles, and take your dog out and let them chase the bubbles at the same time.
Oh, I just got this vision of somebody angrily blowing bubbles.
It won't last for long, but then they could get angry because they got the soap all over their fingers and stuff. But
the other thing is laughing, humor. I mean, that's if you can bring humor into everything, then you're keeping things on the lighter side. If you can laugh at life, and at yourself rather than be angry, I think you're making headway.
I love all these tips because it's really what's happening with the negativity and stress. It is outside of us. We're allowing these negative influences to be affecting us, and it's putting us back in control of what our emotions are and what our feelings are.
And just remember that it may be triggering stuff that it's inside of us, right? But again, you can disconnect from the trigger, or you can heal it. You can use it as education to see that there's something there, and then work on actually removing that, healing it. So,
and I'm going to absolutely agree with you on that one, Dagmar. And because I think one of the good things about it is being able to then step back and say, okay, how much is this bothering me? What can I do about it? And that's one of the reasons why we bring such a variety of healers together on these calls. Natalie is focusing, well, we didn't even tell you what Natalie does, but she's a life coach with an energy healer. And I've already mentioned what Jennilynne and Dagmar and Nicole all do, is that you can sit back and say, hey, there's many different paths to wellness. This is bothering me. I need to find somebody to help me get past that point. And a lot of people just don't know there are so many different options. The option is not going and getting a pill to de-stress. I'm just going to say that right now.
I agree, because again, you know what? And I want to talk about this real briefly, is because pills actually tend to disconnect you more from yourself.
Yeah.
So you don't have an opportunity to process your emotions, to process things, but rather they keep you in a state of not processing. And therefore you're accumulating all your pain up here. And it's actually making things worse for you ultimately.
Well,
Okay?
let's not categorize all pills are bad. And my response
Well,
was,
generally.
but there are many different solutions. I mean, we have a doctor of pharmacy on this call today. That's what Nicole's background is a pharmacist. So
okay.
she certainly understands that there are those that are helpful and there's those that are not. But and I don't want to hijack this conversation and going down the road of the good and the bad of pharmaceuticals. But the fact, what the point that I'm trying to make is that we don't necessarily want to mask them. Maybe we need to dive into them and figure out what it is that we can do to go through it, rather than taking what some people perceive as the easier route. But it's not necessarily true. So Natalie, as a life coach, when you have clients who come to you, where would you even start with them?
Well, see, you're using that term life coach, and I love you for it. I really prefer transformational mentor. But in any case, where do I start? It's very simple. You always start with, how are things going for you? That's the entry point. And then you go into, as Dagmar and Nicole and Jennilynne were saying, where are you in this? I really talk and work step by step on peeling down the layers, because when we are born, we think we're the greatest gift that this earth has ever seen, and we do the single dance party, we jump up and down, we think we're the prettiest, most beautiful things, and then 10 years down the road, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, we're like, oh my God, I look so dead, so we're so mean to ourselves. So we need to unpeel all of that, and that always starts for me with, how are things going for yourself? And you start looking at your own self, your passions, your purpose. You connect that with what you love doing in a potential, and you bring that out. And that itself is de-stressing, because once you recognize who you are, and once you begin to understand that being you and being human is your main purpose of being on this earth, things just get a little easier. So, I mean, that's where I start, and it's working wonders. And just like Dagmar said, and Nicole and Jennilynne too, everything I use when I work with people, I have done myself, and I think that is crucial. Also, what you said earlier, Denise, is crucial, that there is no cookie cut away. One person needs to do this, another person needs to do that. So there are 5 experts here, and we address it all differently. And the main thing is, take that first step. Whatever it is, take that first step, not to a pill, but take that first step. And if you then need a pill later on, then you talk to somebody. Sorry about that. That's the fun about being in nature. That was a trigger for me, Dagmar, just letting you know. I'm tuning it out. So I think it's really, making that first step. It's that first step that you need to take, to talk to somebody, to ask for help, to ask for advice, because I don't believe that we can do it all by ourselves.
Right.
Yeah, amen to that.
Does that answer your question, Denise?
No, hey, we never know where this whole thing's going to go. Amen to that. Absolutely. Natalie, you have the motorcycles in the background. I have a dog barking in the background. So I have to keep muting myself.
Just mention something about,
actually, that was a souped up car. That was not even a motorcycle.
Okay.
I wanted to actually mention something in regards to trying to do things yourself, especially in the healing field, because I find that we naturally do a certain amount of healing and processing, but it takes years, sometimes months, years, sometimes lifetimes for us to actually process something. Whereas when you actually engage with somebody that's a spiritual healer and knows how to take you to a certain space or where something happened and actually heal in that moment, you can reduce that amount of time to a matter of hours. Okay, because in the natural way of doing things, how our soul works with things is we actually tend to have to recreate our unresolved pain. And so we have to create the situation, have to draw it in, we have to live it, so we can connect with it. And that's how we naturally actually heal. And or not, sometimes we don't heal, even though we're connected to it and reliving it and all that stuff, we shove it again. So that's why it's a very lengthy process to actually naturally heal something that can be extremely shortened by actually utilizing a professional healer. I just wanted to mention that.
amen to that too. I think using a professional absolutely will help you speed up the process. Wouldn't you agree with that, Nicole? As you're sitting there nodding your head, absolutely. And Jennilynne
I
too.
do agree. And I do just want to address it because it's been brought up like very briefly a couple of times, using pills for anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So for some people, that is the first step that they need to take because they're at such a heightened level, and it's a way to bring it down. It is a way to numb it, and numbing is not the solution. It is a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
And using antidepressants, using anxiety medications are not a long-term solution for most people.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a way to start to heal and to start to learn to feel into the body, and just used as a tool. It is one tool that's available to us. It is not a bad thing to need medications. It is not a bad thing to not want medications. It is your decision what you put in your body, and it is a tool that's available.
She's the voice of reason.
And yeah, right. I want to back, because I know they said something like that as well. But for me, the first step is going to your doctor, right? Or to a counselor. And if they also think that you need that medication, absolutely. I know it has saved many lives.
Yeah.
I just don't think that the first thing should be that you're going to, the local store and get whatever you find.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always that professional, like Nicole. If I were to come to you and you tell me you should really take that, I would take it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's getting that professional advice, people who are trained, not taking your advice from Facebook, or hey, my friend did this and so I'm going to do it. It is absolutely finding those people who can be the healers in your life, the guides in your life that can help you walk along your path. And of course, You Define Wellness has a ton of professionals to be able to help with all kinds of different modalities as well. So Nicole, thank you for saying what you said, because that is the voice of reason, absolutely. And the voice of trained reason. Let's face that as well. So
I've been really quick, just kind of because it's like every time the pill thing came up, the thought was coming to me. So, and this doesn't just apply to pills. This can be with alcohol. This can be with watching negative things in the media. This can be with overeating. It can be with anything. I think the key to really figuring out if that's going to be something that is working for you or not is how are you using it? Are you using it as distraction? Are you using it to take you out of being present and actually finding and choosing what works? Knowing what's going on. So that I think is also a really other key thing to pay attention to. Are you using it to check out, or is that thing actually really serving your highest good and providing a benefit to you in this moment and in the future?
And
very good point.
There is the factor of the placebo effect, because a lot of antidepressants, statistically speaking, don't work. But if you are taking a sugar pill and you believe that it will help with your depression or anxiety, it will help your body because you are in the mindset to let your body heal itself. And I'm listening to a book by Joe Dispenza right now called You Are the Placebo. And it's all about this work of what you believe about your body, you can make into reality. So
And I'm going to stop it there, because you're now getting into the area of quantum physics, which could be an entire conversation in and of itself. And we don't have time to do that. So I'm going to transition and say, Dr. Natalie Forrest, it is a delight to have you as my co-host here. You are a transformational mentor. I love that philosophy. And how can people find you, and any last words that you might have?
I think the last words that I have are, you can find me anywhere. My name is everywhere. So Natalie Forrest is it, whether it's my website or Facebook, and I commented here as well. Just reach out, and if I can help, I will. And if I cannot help, I will get you to one of those other professionals who can. The last word is what I've noticed, I say that all the time now, but that is, be you, because you're perfect. And that's where it all starts. And then you move from there.
Fantastic.
So
I'm turning it
how
over
about
to you.
Dr. Nicole? Yeah. Dr. Nicole, there you are.
Right. What am I doing?
I love it. I was so mesmerizing. You lost your thought.
Good one.
Where can people reach you? Because you've given so much important insight. And any last words for the topic of today?
You can reach me on my website, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram. I am known as Offbeat Health and Offbeat Pharmacist in all of those places. My website is offbeathealthllc.com. Final thoughts, I guess, just stay true to yourself through this process. And just remember to, any judgment you're putting out on the world is also a reflection back of judgment on yourself. So
true. So true.
Love it.
Yeah. And I know that I'm going to go to Jennilynne now, but I also want to throw in that everybody who's on this panel can be found on You Define Wellness. I just had to throw that in, okay? Because we're all healers and we all do wellness in one way or another. Jennilynne, where can people find you, and any last words?
So you can find me either at destressllounge.com or jennilynne.com. I'm also all over social media. Just look for Jennilynne Coley, you will find me. And my last words would be just to please always remember that there is nothing and no one outside of you that's greater than you. You have all of your answers inside of you. So please, just like exercising a muscle, begin to do whatever is required, even if someone else can come in and be a contribution or a voice of reason. Start exercising that muscle, learning to trust you, because you always know.
Love that.
Awesome. And Dagmar, what about you?
So I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, I'm on LinkedIn, on Instagram. My website is thespiritualhealer.info, info. You can reach me through there. My email is dagmar@thespiritualhealer.info. And my last words here would be to know thyself.
Oh, I like that. I like that. And I get to close this out now by saying my last words are: be kind to yourself and be kind to others around you. We're hearing so many instances of families being torn apart by the events of what's taking place today. This is a temporary situation. It may seem permanent, but it is a temporary situation, and it's our family and our friends that matter the most that will get us through these times. So just be kind to yourself and be kind to those around you. And with that being said, visit our website, youdefinewellness.com. You're on our Facebook page right now, probably, and you can access our website through there too. We are here to serve you, and our network practitioners are fantastic. I have loved today. Thank you, all of you, for being part of our very first Wellness Wednesday. This was fun. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope our viewers have enjoyed it as well. So we hope to catch you all on another one of our Wellness Wednesdays. We're here every Wednesday except on holidays.
It was very good. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
putting it on.
Okay, guys.
Bye.